This is the second tape for the Magdalene Legacy by Lawrence Gardner, which I strongly encourage everybody to buy this book. It's a little bit more informative than the books by Michael Bajan, who's also a good author and should also be bought too, any and all of his books. Continue with the customs of the Jews, or the Essenes were not actually the Jews. The Essenes was an extension of that. The people that were born, the first son that was born in the family was considered to be a David. The second son to be born was considered to be a Joseph. Jesus was born of the line of David, but of course also too his Joseph was of that line. Now, in that Hebrews 7:14 basically discredits the virgin birth, such as people think is out there, that Mary was a virgin birth and all that stuff, which really never really even said that in the Old Testament. It says a young woman shall conceive when that, and again, even that she's a young woman, she's a virgin or whatever, when that didn't mean that it was an immaculate, it was a Holy Spirit insertion in pregnancy when that. Mary Magdalene was considered the chief of the apostles for a good reason, because she was also Jesus' wife. Jesus, supposedly, from what records show, is that he died at the age of 79. There's some discrepancies about where he was buried. Some recent studies show, and there's other books coming out, that Jesus was possibly buried in India, which may indicate some of the ideas about Jesus' involvement with India in terms of his writings. Some of the writings were maybe, when he says, "Let your eye be single," he's not talking about the two eyes that's in your head. He's talking about the pineal gland that's in the center of your forehead and that. But see, that's more of an Eastern term from India. That's not something you would hear amongst the Jewish groups, except maybe there's something in some of the secret writings of the Kabbalah that mentions it. There was a story circulating that Jesus was possibly the son of whose name was Caesarion, of what's his name, Mark Antony and Cleopatra, and that. But discredits that as the baptism of Jesus' feet with the spikenard, shows clearly Assyrian roots when that, and could not have been that. The other stories with that. That's the thing with Mark Antony, and are kind of vague, because it does deal with the years where Jesus and his family were in Egypt under the Kaipa culture called the Therapeutic, where we get the word therapeutic. It was a throwback to the times of Socrates, which I guess goes back to 600 A.D. I'm not completely sure that the vision shaman effects of Socrates and Plato was strictly something that was done then. I think it goes back to an earlier time of the school of the prophets, or Elijah and that, who dealt in the same regard with that, and they go back much further than that. But anyway, that's a moot point. What other things can be said here? When they had these children and that, after they had a girl, they weren't supposed to have sex for another 3 years if they were going to have more kids. And if they had a boy, they couldn't have sex for another 6 years. Technically, Jesus was close to 50 when he had his last child, which was Tamar, his daughter. He had two sons. And that's another thing. Here again, Jesus' first son, Jesus Justus, is to David with that. And then the second son was Josephus, spelled like Josephus, but instead of US, it has an ES at the end. I'm assuming that they're pronounced the same way. Then they in turn had the kids, and the different things. They were in France, and the Aquitaine, and was somehow connected to Mary Magdalene. It's kind of hard to follow stuff. It's all in these different languages, and so these things I probably couldn't pronounce to save my life on that. And there was a burial site. You even have a bone of Mary Magdalene. Why didn't they have one of Jesus? Well, that's probably because he was in another country at the time. And that's the thing about marriage too. That marriage didn't require these men and women to stay around each other or not.
they might have, like Jesus was off doing his thing, and Mary was doing her thing in France, So, let me see what else here. The Templars back in the 12th century or so were holding special things like the bones of Mary Magdalene plus other personal items of other people, and also lent out money. They were kind of like a cross between the federal bank and the FBI and the Foreign Legion of today. When also, the reason why a lot of times the reference to Mary Magdalene is referred to as the Lady of the Lake, because she had the ability to baptize. That made her a fisher. Some term somehow had to do with France called the Fishers of Gaul. A lot of the Gauls up in France later on, and also some of the Romans also ended up in the Roman Catholic Church ended up in England, which I guess maybe brought in the Roman influence as well. What else we got here? Magdalene's first name was Aline, was not born Magdalene. When she went to France, she changed her name to Magdalena. Magda by itself means tower or highness, whatever. So Magdalene was a combination name. So anyway, I encourage a lot of people to read this book. It's very good, and a lot of information. You really should read it word for word. Like I did, usually I don't read like this. I usually skim over books and get the information I need to get out of it, and then I'm done with it. So, so that's I guess that's that.